Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Changing the conversation now, governance in Nigeria is a very demanding responsibility which requires skills, proficiency and efficiency. It is also the people's participation and influence in public decision-making through civil society organizations and democratic elections.
Nigeria, since her independence in 1960, has experienced 5 military coups, 1 civil war, very poor economic development, and a skewed distribution of wealth. Although at the beginning of Muhammadu Buhari's first term as president, the country experienced some political will to fight corruption and improve governance.
Presently, it is believed that the citizens are more impoverished now than it was 50 years ago because of the ineffective governance which pervades all levels of government. So joining us now is Chike Ogeah, former Commissioner of Information at Delta State. The news is replete with a lot of issues, and great to have you.
Thank you.
Once again, replete with a lot of issues. I don't know where to start from, but let me start from here. I saw a certain letter written by the governor of one of the poorest states in this country, inundated with banditry. In fact, there's a report that says over 5,000 widows are in that state as a result of the banditry. And despite the squalor and the poverty, there was a temerity in the letter to ask for a 10 million naira monthly allowance at the expense of the people.
Well, thank you for having me anyway, like you rightly said. We even discussed this issue briefly on This Day Live yesterday, our talk show with Ruben. And I said as a lawyer, you see, whether we like it or not, a law is a law. Whether it's a bad law or it's a good law becomes a different ballgame. But it is the law, and as long as these assemblies, that's the state assemblies, keep making these laws, there's nothing we can do about it. Why Zamfara became topical, I assure you, is because there was a change of party in government. If the APC, it was the court that actually removed the APC government that was there. If Yari had put in his successor, like they all often try and do, you wouldn't even be hearing about this, because everything will go. It was because the PDP government had now come in, and usually when these governments change and the parties change, the first thing the new party wants to do is to discredit the old party in every way it can. And of course, this was a good way of playing into the hands. Because really and truly speaking, with all you said, desperate plays, poverty is about the highest in the country, the banditry, all the widows there, the poverty, and all that. The truth is that Yari did not do anything wrong. He asked for what the law said he's entitled to. Because even in that 10 million you talked about, there are some back allowances. I don't think it was just 10 million for the month. He was talking about some back payments that had not been paid to him. But the truth is that these laws are obnoxious. And until we get to a situation where our assemblies are no longer the appendages of the governors, there's nothing you can do. It's been done everywhere. In fact, I heard just yesterday, and Ruben felt very proud about this, that maybe only Ogun State that's not been doing this kind of thing. But check all the other states. That was about Lagos. 200. You see, and then again, I look at it, Rufai, and I say to myself, if Nigeria works really as a federation as it's supposed to be, and we all know that all these fingers are not equal, and people operate according to the resources they have, I don't even mind. If Lagos can afford it, let Lagos do what it can do. Let Delta do what it can do. So a state like Zamfara, they should be paying maybe 20,000 naira per month to that governor. Yes, I'm serious. So everybody, do Ekiti wouldn't be able to afford anything big, because you see, you look at it vis-a-vis what you're earning. It's this mentality, this go to Abuja at the end of the month mentality, go and collect money. That's what's causing all of this. And we're doing this at the expense of the masses. That's the most painful part of it. You see pensioners that have spent their whole lives working for the state. Now these people are infirm, they are old, and the little stipend that it's their, that they deserve to see the rest of their lives, they can't get it. They are being owed backlogs of these monies. And these governors are coming and cutting away millions of naira under all kinds of pension and gratuity arrangements. I think, yeah.
Someone said yesterday that these governors, public officials work 4 years, at the most 8 years, and they claim pension. And the true definition of pension is someone who has worked their entire life.
That's right.
And needs to earn their pay.
Yes.
But when you say governance in Africa's largest economy, Nigeria, what exactly do we mean? How do you describe governance in Nigeria so far? And for how long can we sustain this type of governance? Why is it so difficult to prune down expenses of governance?
The truth, what you just said now, I wish all our assembly parliamentarians in the various state houses of assembly are listening to you. They're the ones you need to talk to. They are the ones that need to assert this independence. And whether you like it or not, when you talk governance, the most important thing is good governance. What is good governance? It is allowing democracy to work, knowing that there is democracy thrives on a tripod, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. Each of them having their functions clearly spelled out in the Constitution and then being allowed to do it. But like in Africa, this is not the democracy we have. We have a democracy that is really being muscled by the executive, and that is where the problem is. Yes, I was in the PDP government, and people will often think, I will always come and slam the APC. No, this is not about the APC. This is something that has been there. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, this was the foundation that has been laid, and the APC came, and being that they were so inexperienced about it, they didn't even understand how to do it, and that's why we're in this crisis. It's not as if my party was doing it right, no. But the only thing was that they were lucky. They got in at the beginning, and there was, they could manage it. These guys need this learning curve.
Let's just say it clearly, Chike.
Yes.
APC does not understand governance.
No,
That's what you're saying.
I mean, with what they are doing, of course. You see, it's the same problem with the PDP. Like I keep saying, look at the PDP now. People are thinking the APC is the PDP's problem. Of course not. The APC can never be the PDP. The PDP is the PDP's problem. Why do you think, has it occurred to Nigerians that since the advent of democracy, the PDP has had 3 presidents? You know what it is to be a president in the country from 1999? They had Olusegun Obasanjo, they had Umaru Yar'Adua, and they've had Goodluck Jonathan. Now, that means we're talking about Ogun State, Katsina State, and Bayelsa State, where the president came from in the PDP. Today, as we speak on this program, all those 3 states are APC states. Does that tell you something about our democracy? The last election, we're hearing all kinds of stories that the former president was even complicit in the victory of the APC in Bayelsa. Why? Because he was upset that maybe his own candidate, the sitting governor, felt he had become too big and all that. So as long as we keep doing this, it's not governance.
Well, you seem to be exempting the legislature because you talked about separation of powers.
Yes.
When you look at some of the states, even the speakers and the deputy speakers have, signed for themselves life of largesse,
yes,
even when they leave office. So it's not just the executive here.
Chicago, for instance.
Yes.
In several states.
Definitely.
Bayelsa was about to do it before public.
But don't you understand what is happening? I've been in government. It's simple. These speakers, like you said, are appendages of the governors. These governors work with them, and they see what Oga is doing. Why should they not have some for themselves? You see, so that is the problem I think we really have with Nigeria. It's all about us, the elite, once we get in a position of authority. And like Ruben again said yesterday, what is the problem with politicians having a second address? Look at my situation, for instance. I was in a PDP government. We worked very hard for the PDP in Delta State. I mean, I was the commissioner, so the succession of whoever is going to take over was not really my problem. But somewhere down the line, the outgoing governor and the governor that eventually came in, they didn't seem to be working on the same page. The outgoing governor maybe wanted another person. Of course, by the time the party came together and said, no, this is the way we want to go, the outgoing governor had no choice but to follow the line, unlike what happened in Bayelsa. And that's why they lost the state. Obviously, he must have realized that if we don't follow this guy, this obviously is the most popular guy, we might end up losing the state. So he thought he did the right thing. But then, even with that, the way the system works is that once that transition was complete, the new governor, the new government, not even the governor, there was this hostility towards all of us that were there before. You see, but the good thing now is that someone like me, I have a second address. And I actually went there to work with the governor I went to work with. And immediately it was done, I was gone. But that is the problem. And that is why we have this issue with Nigeria, because these guys are professional politicians. They are just a few professionals in politics like me. I can walk away and go and do something else.
But doesn't the system encourage this lifelong of professional politicians?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an instance. It's almost like a swan song. Any governor that leaves office must go to the Senate.
Yeah, because
it's almost a very terrible. And look at the people in our politics today, miscreants. It's as if you cannot. It's as if you cannot harness thuggery. Then you can't be in politics. You say that's a hard word. What happened in Kogi State? You want to talk about what happened in Kogi State?
No, it's terrible. But you remember, this all started from a do-or-die politics situation when an ex-president said this election is do or die. You see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. These things, foundations were laid.
Your party was part of those who that opened our eyes.
That's what I just said. So I said an ex-president said I was there, that an election was a do or die affair. And that was when election became war in Nigeria. And don't forget that the private sector in Nigeria is very weak, extremely weak. So if you don't have something concrete you're doing, and you get into politics and you become government picking, as they call it, where you have all your bills paid for you and all that, you don't want to walk away from it. The thing is very addictive, I tell you. I was there. You really need to have an alternative to be able to walk away.
Is it really sweet?
Yeah, it's very, very sweet, I can assure you. Because you see, you know what happens? It's simple. While working, most of your daily expenses are paid for you. And that is the problem. You see, maybe only the governors who control everything anyway, because they have the yam and the knife, as they say. But the rest of us, the little crumbs comes here and there. But it takes care of the daily expenses. And what happens is that the minute you leave, it ceases. And then you now realize that this little sure goes a long way. Because, you see, if you are getting 10 naira every month, and it is constant, you can plan on that. But all of a sudden, that 10 naira stops, and you don't know where the next 1 naira is coming from. Then it becomes a crisis.
We're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to change the conversation a bit. You are the ex-commissioner of information for Delta State, so I would like to talk about freedom of information. Stay with us. This is still The Morning Show. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Arise News. We're still joined in our Lagos studios by Mr. Chike Ogeah, the former Commissioner of Information for Delta State. Now, we're talking about governance in Nigeria, and I wanted to bring your attention to the recent social media bill that's passed the first and second reading in the National Assembly. Now, there was a lot of back and forth, and even at the beginning of the show, we're talking about how even the president's daughter and wife have chimed in on this. And their bring back to this is that the bill is not to gag the press, but to regulate it in a way which we can conduct ourselves in the most civilized way using the internet. Now, some have also argued that there's a Cyber Crimes Act that addresses all of this. I'm curious to know what your take about the social media bill is.
Seriously, from the point of view of being a lawyer, the first thing I would say off the top of my head is that we have enough laws in Nigeria to take care of whether it's slander, whether it's libel, all the various seditious material that can be put out in the social media. Again, I think social media in Nigeria is a little bit weak. I don't know why, because really what they do in advanced countries is that the platforms themselves have a sifting mechanism for this kind of things. So you send something to Twitter or you send something to Instagram, they have their own way of sifting it, and they know what will not get out even after you sent. It's a pity. I don't think that all those kind of...
That applies here. I mean, you see some tweets that said it's been pulled out because of sensitive materials.
Okay, so those are the kind of things you can rely on. But to start coming through the back door and wanting to reenact Decree 2, Decree 4, where you want to gag the freedom of speech of the people, which, if you ask me, is the most fundamental kernel of a democracy, then be sure we're heading for a major dictatorship. And Nigerians might not understand what is about to come to us. And I pray that they pull back quickly, because this is very, very ominous, if you ask me. But yet again, something I've been thinking about, and I said to myself, these people are just joking. You know why? Because they are sitting on that side now. And we see it every day. Tenure would always lapse, and they will be on the other side. Who says that the person that is promoting this this hate speech bill is not the one that will be caught for it tomorrow? Isn't it funny that the APC is the one making all this noise? How did the APC get into government? In 2015, if you can remember, and everything before it, the campaign leading up to 2015, did you see the kind of hate speech that was used against Jonathan? Were we all not here? Although I was ensconced in Delta, and I didn't even realize what was happening in the Federation, because Delta is 100% PDP. So we didn't even realize what was going on, that kind of thing. But I remember when I pick up some things, or I look into the internet, and I'm just wondering, why are these people doing all this? What did they dub Jonathan as, from clueless to, you name all the things they used against him, you know, and told us he didn't have shoes, he didn't, because he had that issue where he had said, yes, and they turned it around.
You do think that this is misplaced?
Like he was a fisherman from, who has time for he was a third class, first class citizen. There's nothing they didn't say.
You think it's misplaced? The social media and hate speech bills.
You see, what I even predict is that the people that took it to that place will take it out themselves. They don't even need the Senate. That kind of bill will never pass through this House of Representatives that I know. So they're just, it's just a bourgeois thing. And it's the same old thing we see where politicians want to suck up to the presidency. I don't think anybody even sent anybody, because funny enough, the place, the senator who sponsored that bill, Sabi Abdullahi, the former spokesman, he's from Niger State. That's Babangida State.
They are both from Niger.
Yes. And you heard that again. You remember the Niger State was a stronghold of the PDP. But of course now it's APC. But Babangida is still alive. Babangida is a founding member of the PDP. And you heard what he had to say about that hate speech.
Well, when we talk about governance, just to move away from the social media bill and the hate speech bill, we focus so much at the center. Have the state governors been caught napping when it comes to creating economic opportunities, security, human capital development for their people? And is this what the First Lady was trying to say on Friday?
Yes.
Trying to echo the ineptitude of the governors?
Well, you see, we run a jaundice federation as far as I'm concerned. That is the problem with Nigeria. Because really, you need two hands to clap. In fact, in this case, three, because we have the third tier of government, which is the local government. But we know how it functions here. If we really want to practice a federation, and you want to give them those responsibilities, don't you know what we have to do? We have to stop all that Mecca going on pilgrimage to Abuja to collect money. They have to sit down and start generating resources. They have to control the architecture of the security you want them to be responsible for. You can't call a state governor a chief security officer and he has no command over the police commissioner in his state, because the police commissioner in his state is not going to take any directives from the state governor. I can assure you, only the IG can talk to him. So you see, I just believe the whole thing is from that's where the bane of Nigeria is our constitution. That's the truth. That is not the people's constitution. And that's why, if you notice, when you listen to most of these issues, when especially these older men, Ayo Adebanjo, all these people are talking about, they tell you that Nigeria does not have a constitution. This constitution was given to us by the military for unitary purposes. It still has a unitary government in mind with the constitution. So how can you run a federation with a unitary constitution? So, that is the problem we have.
Sad realities there. Let's quickly talk about, and I also want to segue into regional politics a little bit. I mean, regards constituency projects and the likes, and how these monies are being dispersed. And in fact, they're seeing shocking revelations. A lot of people have said, do we really need constituency projects? That's another question. And let's also segue that into regional politics that is brewing leading up to 2023. Doyin Okupe came out to say recently why the South might never The president
And
again.
I agree with you because I think I read that.
You read that. You want
Yes.
to talk about that?
Yeah, you see, the truth is that regional politics will always be there. The truth is that the South can never be united because the seed of discord over time has been sown between the Southwest and the Southeast. That is the main problem. My people, I won't call them my people, but my zone, which is the South-South, because though I'm from the South-South, I'm really Igbo. You know, I'm from Asaba, and I'm Igbo by tribe. But the truth is that from the advent of the Civil War, that is where this poison had been put into the South, where the Southeasterner cannot trust the Yoruba man, and vice versa. And this is what the North profits from all the time. So the North knows that all they have to do is have an alliance with one of those two ethnic groups, and that is it. It's done. I mean, how many times did President Buhari try to be president? He even got to a stage where he got so frustrated, he cried and said he's never doing it again. Then here comes Tinubu, the beautiful bride. And it happened. Without Tinubu, it would never have happened. He could have gotten all those votes he was getting in the North.
So you think in this hypothetical zoning that we normally do that,
yes,
a lot of people think the president is supposed to come to the South now, since he's been in the North for quite a while. In 2023, he's not going to come to the South.
What I would tell you, simply, is that the presidency should come to the South. There will be a big problem if it doesn't, but the only way the presidency will come to the South is if the North wants it to come to the South. You see, that is where
not by the zoning arrangement.
But by whatever arrangement, the North must key into it. If the North does not want it, then you have a problem. Because you in the South cannot make it happen on your own.
What about
That's the
also
point.
talking about constituency projects as well?
Yes, you talked about that. Now, there's so much talk about that thing. Yeah. They say to us, that's the assembly people, I have a lot of friends that are there, I try to want to believe them, that we have absolutely no control. I've never been in the legislature, so I don't know how it operates. We are not in control of this thing. All we do, we go to our constituencies, we identify what the needs of our constituents are. It is actually the executive that come and take care of these projects. We don't see the money, we don't see anything. But how come we hear vehicles are in some senators' farms, for constituency, So you see, again, all these things is still this same elite conspiracy. There's so much opaqueness about this thing. And let me tell you something about Nigeria. When it comes to, it's just that lately the cleavages have become so sharp. You know, Nigeria has never been this divided as it is today. But what I noticed before was that it is the masses that just bear the brunt of all these games. Because when the chips are down, these guys, whether it's PDP or APC, once you have a common interest, everything is okay. Whether legislature, whether executive, it's all 6 and half a dozen. Yeah. So until we're able to get those, lines clearly demarcated, these are the issues we'll be having.
Well, hopefully we'll get it soon and quick enough. As Africa's largest economy, thank you so much for coming on the show, Mr. Chike Ogeah.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the show today. I am Adesoa Omoruan.
I'm Rufai Hosseini.
And I'm Shaitan Atigari. Thank you for watching from our entire team here in Lagos. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day.